Welcome everyone to the, I believe, fifth episode of Close Encounters of the Dragonkind. I'm happy to see you all here, and I'm sure the other hosts are happy to see everyone here today. The topic of this episode is how being human and being draconic can coexist. Though firstly, I will go ahead and introduce myself for the listeners who haven't already heard my being introduce myself in previous episodes. So, hello, I am Lunath. My werewolf stereotype's name is Norok, and I'm a lycodraconic werewolf who is connected to a divine celestial draconian being by the same name. I am indigenous upon this earth, and I've been in the otherkind community for a little over 11 or 12 years now. I'm the creator of the Draconic Summit, Powwow of the Non-Human, Therian Convergence, Essence of Draconity, and of course this server. It's a pleasure to be here. If the other hosts can introduce themselves, or if they want to introduce themselves, feel free to.
Hello there, I'm Nimbus, a 19-year-old spiritual dragonkin from Texas. My pronouns are he, him, and its, and I've been awakened for 8 years. And I also have other alter human identities, but the dragon one is the most prominent one.
All right, I'll go next then. Hi everybody, my name is Akirisha. I'm a dragonkin. I awakened in 2005. And although I haven't been that active in the community as of late, I'm slowly working my way back. And you heard me in the last episode, and you'll probably hear me in this one as well.
Yeah, my name is Bela. Hi, I'm also a dragonkin from Germany. I've been around in the community since 2007, first in a local German community, and now since, I would say, approximately 2 years in the broader US international otherkin community. Hi.
All right then. Good morning, all. I am Alkura Wintermist, a psychologically identifying Arctic dragon. I have been awoken for around 10 years, and I am representing the Southern Hemisphere End of Masters, specifically Australia, where it is currently 5 a.m.
Good morning, sunshine.
So the first question that Ak here gave to us is how do you actually balance the instincts and or characteristics of being draconic with the societal expectations or social expectations and norms of being human? Interesting one. So who wants to start?
I guess I can answer that one. A lot of my draconic traits, they actually pass off as symptoms of ADHD or neurodivergency. So most people who know my being IRL think I'm fidgeting, which I kind of am, though at the same time, it's also my draconic traits expressing themselves. So I don't really pass as neurotypical. So my draconic traits are always out there. And I don't mind. I enjoy being draconic and expressing my draconic traits, even in public.
Yeah, I will say I'm also neurodivergent, and specifically autism and OCD are my most noticeable neurodivergencies. And I wouldn't exactly say that my draconity looks like symptoms of that, because I know because like the way my brain is structured, that's just kind of like my experience is kind of like Lunath's, but a little different. Part of the overlap between my autism and my draconity is a very strong sense of justice and honor. And I I'm a very non-confrontational, peaceful person, but as a dragon I was not. So that kind of tends to like show itself in the way of like I'm very outspoken about my morals, and even if I don't like to fight, I will get into fights if it's for like protecting my friends or something, you know? So that's kind of how it is for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. Actually, some of my draconic traits are, I guess I would say, toxic. I try my best to balance out those draconic traits, though my true draconian self, she holds grudges. She's very extremely hateful. She's kind of violent actually. So I
Mhm.
definitely have to be careful to not let those draconic traits slip into my human life because I don't want to hurt anyone upon this earth. Even if I'm angry, I
Yeah.
really don't want to hurt others.
Yeah. I okay. For me, it's in my past life, I was a very angry, hateful dragon, and I got better. I got better because I got cause I got better because I actually like developed good relationships and stuff later on in that life. But it's like I had different experiences in that life than to this life. So because of the circumstances of my life, of my current life, I've turned out to be a fairly kind person in my opinion and according to others. So but if I let's say if I was raised in a circumstance where I was if I was raised in the circumstances I was as a dragon, where I was like literally fighting to survive, I probably would have turned out very different. And I do still have those instincts on occasion. Like I get very protective over my food and personal items, and I also feel very protective over the people I care about, and I worry about them all the time. And I know that's not necessarily always a draconic thing, but for me, it kind of is, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's understandable. Do the other hosts want to answer this question?
The certain traits that have been talked about already, I do recognize. Not so much like the defense of food or anything, but more the being highly protective of friends or family or ones that I deem family. And I even took that line and also applied it to my work. So even at my job, I have a few people working under me, and I've said it before in this server as well. The co-workers I am with, I more or less see as my hatchlings, between quotes. So if anyone dares to hurt them, they have to go through me. Besides that, I've been out of the otherkind community for a long time, like 8 years or something. And during that time, I've also more or less lost myself and I guess acted really human. So it's funny to look back on that and realize how mundane I became. And in comparison to how I am right now, how much freer I am and how much more open I dare to be. Lately, I've been allowing myself to growl when something is frustrating. Well, in the past, I wouldn't do anything, just scoff or maybe. And it's funny how nobody really notices that, or when they notice, they don't really care. It's more like, if people just accept it. Maybe I'm also lucky enough that I live in the Netherlands, so honesty and being honest, brutally honest to each other up front is more or less a thing here, a cultural thing. And I guess being able to express yourself however you want and nobody really getting bothered by that is a thing that's also being respected here. So yeah, it's a good balance to have nowadays. I like it. I enjoy it.
Alkura, you wanted to say something.
Just a few words. So something I've noticed, at least in regards to balancing instincts and characteristics of draconity, is because I've had an entire lifetime to do it. It's it's not quite something I've put a lot of thought into. However, apologies, I've actually lost my train of thought entirely. I might need to revisit this one later. I'm gonna have to pass for the time being.
I just fire on the next one because it kind of connects to the first question. So the second question would be, can you describe any challenges you have faced in daily life due to your identification as draconic and how you've overcome or adapted to them?
Well, other than what I mentioned before about some of my draconic traits being really toxic and trying to overcome that, there's also a sense of, well, I do miss my wings. I miss being a dragon. I miss being like a draconic werewolf. Though I conquer that by reminding myself that there are a lot of good things about living a human life and that it isn't all bad. I just remember the things that I can't experience as a dragon and enjoy the things that I can experience as a human. Not only does it help with depression and species dysphoria, though, just a nice positive outlook on life.
From my point of view, I could say that I think one of my personal challenges is to not fall into that state of dysphoria and to devalue the current life I'm currently living. And I think this is for, I would not say that this is just for the draconic part of otherkinity, but for a lot of beings that experiences or that have that have memories of prior lives or something like this. What I hear basically a lot throughout the community is that it's kind of uplifting that the prior life was the greatest life of all in quote unquote, or it was very, very great, and the life now is basically not superior, but is it ulterior? Unten drunter? I think so. I think it's ulterior. So it's worse than the current life, and I try not to get into that state. I try for me personally. I try to still value the current life I'm living. I'm still trying to value the body I now possess because it's the one thing that currently holds me on this planet. In general, I think my life that I'm currently living right now is better when I see both parts of me, the current life I'm now living as well as my draconic part, as even and equal, and not put the one above each other, above one another. And I think that is a challenge that sometimes emerges in some circumstances, and this is something I have to deal with.
That's understandable. Do the other hosts want to answer?
Yeah, I would say you guys have already phrased it pretty well. Despite the challenges, I do try to keep a positive outlook on things because, like, I wouldn't have met all the lovely, wonderful people I know if I wasn't human, and I wouldn't have my wonderful family, my friends, partners. Wouldn't have that if I was never human. So I like to think about that when the species dysphoria gets bad. Though I will say to describe the challenges I've faced, my main one is feeling like I don't fit in with the humans and that I'm in the wrong place. You know, kind of like dysphoria as well, but. I've always known I'm different, and and my bullies have always known I'm different as a child, I mean. And so I've definitely had some unpleasant experiences just because I'm quote unquote weird, which I've just come to just accept that that's part of being outside of the norm. But yeah. Okay. So on species dysphoria, I get phantom wings, or I prefer to call them spectral wings just because of the discourse surrounding the term phantom limbs. Anyways, so I get spectral wings sometimes, and I'm not sure what exactly the issue is, but there's some kind of like consistent pain in my shoulder that I get daily, and it just reminds me of the fact, like, it feels like where my wings would be, and it reminds me of the wing that I broke in a past life. So it's just kind of a constant reminder of what I don't have, but yeah, it's I'm not saying that this pain is, I'm not saying that this pain I have is 100% caused by my spectral wings, but it reminds me of them. It's probably like a pinched nerve or something. I don't know, but I'll talk. This is not the place to talk about my medical issues. So
No, I understand. That is interesting, though. Thank you for sharing. I don't have what one would consider like phantom pain. I mean, in any of the areas where I have phantom limbs, though it is interesting to know that others have that experience.
I suppose I shall proceed. As for challenges that I have faced, I mean, being purely psychologically identifying myself, a lot of the challenges I feel I faced in regards to my draconity were effectively growing pains. Once I accepted that I'll never really be able to fit into general society, but I can definitely participate in it, it was quite a, how should I say it, liberating experience, because it gave me effectively permission to be myself, um to be to be what I am without needing to press myself to try to fit into a exactly Julian, to not necessarily participate in the complexities of human society, but still to try to have an understanding of it, because we do still live in it, whether we choose to actively participate in it or not. Are there any further points I could possibly render from my own life life on this one? Probably in the form of a response to others. So I will let anyone speak who hasn't yet on this one. Thank you.
We can pass on to the next question, and the next question is kind of the opposite of the second one. So the question is, are there specific aspects of your draconic identity that you find particularly enriching and fulfilling to incorporate into your human life right now? And if so, how do you integrate them? And I know that Akir wanted to add something to this. So I first pass the microphone, the virtual microphone, to Akir, if I may.
Thank you. So, well, I thought of the question, so of course I know which one is coming. But what I find enriching or fulfilling about this, or being a dragon on Earth, is the fact that I noticed I have a different view on the world as most humans do, or as humans do, which is a really beautiful thing. I often find myself staring up at the clouds, looking at the sky, noticing little details. Just seeing the world from a higher viewpoint, basically, because that's what I was used to. Flying among the clouds, being one up there, and those memories and the idea that I can incorporate that viewpoint and that idea or that lifestyle into being human on this planet is something that really helps me. It keeps me positive. It gives me love for myself and for others. So there's definitely a lot of aspects of my identity that I use to stay close to myself and to spread love to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that completely. I experienced something similar. My draconity, excluding the negative aspects, it's a really positive influence on my human life. I have an altered view of the world because of my draconity. I see the world the way my true draconian self sees the world. And for the most part, it's a very positive view and a very nature-loving view. So I will always look up at the clouds. Every time there's a storm outside, I will go out and see the storm. I enjoy the little things in life. My true draconian self loves the little things in life. I don't ever aim to really be successful in this human life. I just want to experience the little things to be happy.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing to strive for.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have made fantastic points, and yeah, having a different view of society is very interesting, and I'm not sure if the way I view things is because of my draconity, but it's definitely a little different from most. So, but in regards to the question, any parts of your identity that you find enriching or fulfilling, personally, this is a little silly, but personally, I have a very strong hoarding instinct. Uh, and I find my collection, I love having my collection of crystals, trinkets, and other shiny things. It really makes my space feel like mine, and it makes me quite happy.
Yeah, I can understand that. I
Yeah.
love looking at my shinies. I
Mhm.
have like little gold nuggets, and I have like crystallized silver and other little trinkets,
Nice.
and I love looking at them.
Yeah.
My true draconian self love doing that, and I love doing it upon this earth too. It's also
Mhm.
strangely calming.
Yeah, it is. Just to like, this is like your space with your things, and it's nice, you know?
Oh yeah, my little cave, my shinies.
Yeah. Let's see, let me think of. Oh, I also find I really love decorating, I guess decorating my form, so to speak, if you wanna use fancy terminology. I like wearing a lot of jewelry and fancy clothing, and that is because I have, as a dragon, I was very materialistic and liked looking good at all times, and that still carries on to this life. I'm definitely a lot more healthy about it than I used to be in this life, where I'm like, it's not, I don't care a lot about vanity because I'm insecure. I care a lot about vanity because I think I'm beautiful and I deserve to feel beautiful. So
That's good.
I,
That's really good.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I love wearing jewelry. I love hearing the jingly jangly sounds as I walk. I like wearing pretty fancy clothing. It's just very it makes me happy, you know?
yeah, I can understand that. I would absolutely dress myself up more and decorate my form. I just, I'm so low energy at this point in my life. Maybe one day though.
Fair. Thrift stores, if you want to get like some really cool stuff, thrift stores and antique stores have like some hidden gems in them. So,
Ooh,
yeah.
nice.
I didn't have too much to add to this, but to just repeat the question before I proceed with my answer. Are there specific aspects of draconic identity that you find particularly enriching or fulfilling to incorporate into your human life? And if so, how do you integrate them? I believe a lot of others have touched on this in many different ways, but effectively it's a deeper enjoyment of aspects of life that others don't really that that basically the general populace may not, look into or or consider things such as looking up, like literally looking up as that's what you're more used to, appreciating the smaller, potentially shinier things in life. I believe a lot of dragons in general can relate to those. And I also want to comment, I think the term integrate I think the term integrate may not be, I wouldn't say it's not the most inaccurate term, but I believe most of us been on this who have sort of been on this path of existence for any period of time will generally agree that rather than, having to integrate this stuff, it kind of just comes naturally with it. We are generally partaking in these things since day one, and yeah, apologies if that came off as a ramble. That's all I wanted to add.
what I just got reminded of by that ramble. If I am here anyway, in a human body as a dragon, then I might as well use my draconic identity to also enrich the lives of other dragonkin, which means being active in a community, doing stuff with others. That also helps me and helps others.
That's sweet. And just to add to both points of you and Akura, it probably you basically both said a lot of the things that I can subscribe to. So for me, it's the best thing that Draconity adds to my life is another point of view. And I think this is so important, not just for us Dragonkin, but it should be so important for everyone to have the ability to change point of views, to have in a wider sense, have a sense of empathy and to not directly act from your small and little space you're currently looking things from, but to reflect upon yourself, to reflect upon others and their behavior, and then react in a sophisticated and well thought through way that other points of view can give you. And I think that is something over the years, and it was not just there like with the snap. Over the years, that is something I can say that really, in a way enlightened me and enlightens me every day, because it fires up my curiosity on my view of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm definitely curious too, since my true draconian self was, well, she's kind of omnipotent, I guess. So she has endless knowledge, though I don't upon this earth. So I'm always interested in learning new things, and I love learning. I sound like a child there, though. I love learning. The curiosity compels the Durg.
Yeah, life is an ever going lesson. You gotta keep learning.
Yeah, though my draconity definitely makes my being extra curious, just because of how much my true draconian self knows.
And that is actually a pretty good line to step to our next question, because the next one is, have you actually developed any personal rituals or practices to honor your draconic identity within the context of your human life?
Oh yes, absolutely. I I did a whole panel on my spirituality at the last Draconic Summit, and I'm going to do another one at this Draconic Summit. So I won't go too much into this episode, though. I do worship draconic divinities. I call them the Infinite One, the Tempest One, and the Volcanic One. I honor those draconic divinities every day. I'm going to do more rituals to honor them. And I also worship Tezcatlipoca, though I have to balance out my worship for Tezcatlipoca and my worship to what I call the original Draconian Triad, because the original Draconian Triad, they don't really want my being to, worship any other divinities other than them, though I still honor Tezcatlipoca. So it's a delicate balance I'm trying to find. And by the way, Tezcatlipoca is the Mexica or Aztec god of the north, of death, of the black wind that causes death, the cold. He's a lot of things, really. Though many know him as the adversary of Quetzalcoatl. So that's the gist of my spirituality, yeah.
Super cool. I'd love to learn more about everyone else's spirituality in the future. For me, my spirituality is not quite. I'm still kind of finding my path in my spirituality, and the deities I worship are completely unrelated to my draconity. I worship a couple deities from the Kemetic pantheon as well as Satan. So that's my spirituality, but it doesn't really have anything to do with my draconity. However, in terms of rituals or practices to honor my draconic identity, I in my memories, we have if you've ever seen the Avatar movies, we basically have song chords, and if you haven't seen the Avatar movies, they're beaded chords that tell the story of someone's life. And in the world I lived in, us dragons made song chords, or rather, we called them life chords or story chords, something along those lines. And I made one for myself, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah,
Something-
that looked really good. I loved it.
Thank-
I also
thank
love the
you.
whole idea of it. It's
Yeah.
it's really pretty.
Thank you. If anyone else wants to do this idea for themselves, I encourage it because it is very fun to make them. Though you will have a sore back and sore hands.
Might be worth it.
Yeah. Another thing I do is I work with in my back to spirituality. Something I do that really helps me feel draconic is I work with crystals a lot, and crystals and candles, and just like being surrounded by like crystals and flames. It's very dragon, you know? I don't do it solely because of my draconity, but it certainly helps.
That's understandable. I do the rituals to honor the original Draconian Triad in the way that it is done by my true Draconian self, and generally by the dragons of my home world. Obviously, not all the materials from my world are here, so I do my best to replicate the rituals with the materials I have at my disposal. Though I definitely do my absolute best to replicate those rituals
Makes
for the
sense.
original Draconian Triad to the absolute best of my ability. I do want to honor them.
Mhm.
Usually, though, in the environment I'm in right now, I can't really do the rituals because you're supposed to be in a certain environment, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like surrounded by nature. I mean, not in a house. That's not
Yeah.
how it's traditionally done upon my draconic self's home world, so
That's fair. So this might be a slightly more uncomfortable topic. But I experience a hunting drive because of my draconic self being carnivorous and hunting for food and all that, and I I obviously I'm not going obviously I don't actually want to hurt animals in this life unless I'm doing like sustainable ethical hunting. But the thing I do to get my hunting drive out is I play PvP video games to like get that feeling of chasing something, you know?
yeah, I understand that. Do any
Yeah.
of the other hosts want to answer this question?
I don't have anything specific to add, but I can kind of, the way I see it is that my day-to-day life is more of a ritual to myself or to my draconic identity. I try to find small things to appreciate my own soul, and sometimes that's just a thought, sometimes it's an expression or a growl or a remark I can make. The hunting drive actually did remind me that I like driving cars, racing cars, and I guess the thrill of that speed can be seen in the thrill of the hunt. It might not be have any correlation with each other, but you know, if we're talking about making a line between things, I might as well draw that line.
Yeah, fair.
Understandable.
Could I share another thing that I have taken up?
Yeah.
As a dragon, I lived in a mountainous region, and I lived very high up in the mountains. And because of my aforementioned wing injury, I could not fly. So I had to climb to get places. And I have taken up rock climbing in this life to sort of like feel that way again. But however, this is also kind of it's a little scary because I have a very bad fear of heights. I like to think of it as both a way to satiate my draconic instincts and also try and conquer my fears.
Yeah, that's
So-
understandable.
Yeah.
The draconic instinct wants you to climb, though the human mind says no, scared of heights. I can understand
Yeah.
that.
Like, at least because dragons are a lot more durable than humans are. So if a dragon falls, it's not a big deal. If a human falls, oof, ouch, my bones.
Yeah, absolutely. Regarding rituals to honor one's draconity, I check in on this server every day. I
Yeah,
enjoy.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, me too.
I definitely
oh,
enjoy being in the community and just interacting with other dragons. Love this server.
yeah, it's very nice. I love the community that's been built here so much.
Yee.
Yes, and it's something we have to protect.
Yes.
Absolutely. If anyone has something to say, then say it now, or I'm going for the next question, if that's okay for you all. So, let me just, I hear an O. What does this O mean?
Yes, I forgot to mention one more thing I do to connect with my draconity. If it's quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is very common in the otherkind community. I try to meditate every day, with soundscapes of my habitat or music that reminds me of my draconic self, uh, either to like connect or to maybe find memories, unlock some past life memories. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not really. But it's like a nice thing I like to do every day, and it helps me clear my head and calm down, you know?
Yeah, actually, that reminds me as well. Bela and I sometimes do yoga together, even though we're not physically together. And that sometimes that hits on a certain level that, feels like we are together. So that also is some sort of a meditational state while doing a yoga ritual, more or less. So that's also, I guess, a way to feel more myself.
Yee.
And I can highly recommend doing yoga for everyone, just as a side note.
Yeah. I've also started working out. I've also started working out every day to build up strength and to feel stronger. So that's, I guess, another aspect of me wanting to feel more draconic, because as a dragon, I was like 20 feet tall. As a human, I'm 5'3.5". So I can't really like be tall, but I can be small and strong, and that's enough for me.
Understandable.
So the next question would be, how do you handle situations where your draconic instincts or desires conflict with human obligations or responsibilities?
That's a good one. Sometimes my draconics. Okay, well, sometimes. Okay, during a storm, my draconic self wants to say, stay during the storm, the entire storm, when I have stuff to do or I have phone calls to make. So usually the draconity wins, and I push aside any important things that I need to do to watch the storm or go out in nature because I just can't resist.
Yeah, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I am also deeply connected to storms and rain. And it's like every time there is one, I'm just like, ooh, it's just like home. And it's very nice. But also I I prefer this is this is both a mental health thing and this is primarily a mental health thing actually. But my motto is always take care of myself before I take care of other things. And so I will spend all day just like playing video games, or like meditating or reading or like treat myself to a nice bath or something. And then I will forget to do things that I need to do, such as like schedule doctor appointments or apply for jobs or whatever. And it's not exactly draconic related, but as a dragon, I was kind of a homebody, so I guess that, and I still don't really like leaving the house, depending on the occasion. It's not that I don't like leaving the house. I like going out and doing things. It's just with the way I dress and the way the weather is, where I live, I often end up being very overheated because I am goth and I live in Texas, so going out is a little difficult.
Mood.
Yeah.
I just compensate by wearing all black shirts, all black shorts.
Very fair.
Also because I have no energy.
Fair.
Low energy goth. That's my style right now.
Understandable.
For me, a certain situation that I can think of is when I have to go visit my family, my sisters or my mother, and especially with my sisters who have kids. I am more or less just thinking like, why do I have to go there? I don't want human kids. I don't like human kids in particular. So having to go there because it's a obligation I have to fulfill as a brother of my sisters, it feels like I often have to fake my enthusiasm, even though they know very well I am not fond of kids. I can't really truly express my feelings about human kids, which sounds really bad if I say it like this right now. I mean, it's not as bad as you might think, but it's definitely a thing where I feel like I could stay home or I could do something else instead that feels much better to do instead of going there and fulfilling the obligation.
I totally get you. I don't like children. They're very loud and I do not like loud. But I do want them to like be safe, Just as a disclaimer, I don't want to be around children, but I want them to be okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Also, I forgot to mention, something that fits the question a little more is, as I mentioned, I have a little bit of a problem with hoarding. Not in the way where like my house is filthy, there's stuff everywhere, I don't clean it. I just spend a lot of money on a lot of stuff. And I keep my space very clean because I'm a very clean oriented person, and I just like my space to be. My space is messy. My room's messy, but in a controlled way. It's like objects messy, not like dirt messy. But I digress. My my human responsibilities is to like spend money responsibly, get a job, you know, um, keep don't flood my room with useless things. But the draconic instincts see anything that looks vaguely shiny or cool, and I'm just like, I need it. I need to spend my money on that. I need to own it. And I'm a little broke right now because of that. Not broke. I have money. I just don't have enough money for like big spending.
Mood.
There's never enough money.
True.
Generally speaking, and this may not be the best this may not be the most positive outlook compared to how others have spoken here, but I have gotten to a point where if my human obligations or responsibilities exist, I have to give them precedence. I try to tie in draconity where I can, but most of the time it's usually an act of balancing time for each as opposed to one taking precedence over the other. That's all I wanted to comment.
Oh yeah, definitely. That balancing act is definitely something I can relate to, and I think everybody else in here as well.
Yeah. I would like to say if it works for you and it makes you and it helps your life function and it helps you like function and like keeps your life together and stuff, then it's totally reasonable to let the human responsibilities overtake the draconic ones. In fact, that's probably the healthier thing to do. But depending on depending on the dragon, but it's different for everyone. So really just a wide range of experiences is good because you get to see everyone's outlooks on stuff, and one thing might work for someone, might not work for someone else, and that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I think I cannot add so much to that. So
You want to do the next question, Bela?
I want from the depths of my heart. So the next question is, have you found ways to express your draconic identity creatively or artistically in this human life, such as through art, writing, or performance?
Yes, I express my draconity through my art, through my writing. Yeah, I express my draconity through that way. Love drawing, love sculpting, I love writing. In fact, my writing style is based on how my true draconian self and the other dragons of my world speak. One of my art styles is also based on how my true draconian self draws. So there's definitely a lot of aspects of my draconity in my artwork.
That's really cool, actually.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. The main thing is the how I style the eyes. That's like directly inspired by my draconity. The rings around the eyes, I mean, in my artwork.
That's
Mhm.
super cool. That's super cool. I love that.
Thank you.
For me personally, the way I express myself, I used to draw a lot, especially back when I awakened. Then at some point I stopped. No idea why, actually. And I've picked up writing recently as I came back into the community. And I am also trying to find a way to figure out which words to use to describe what I am seeing in my head. So it's a really difficult process to get to where I want to be as a writer, I guess. But so far I'm enjoying it.
Understandable. Did others want to answer?
Creatively, I really love doing cosplay and makeup and also incorporating my draconity into my outfits and stuff. So I have done cosplays of my draconic self, but as a humanoid, and I like to do some acting on occasion. And I also love making I do creative role play sometimes. And something I love doing is making original characters. And sometimes I like to pass my draconic self off as an original character so I can really just role play myself. It's very fun to do. I like doing creative writing about dragons, be it myself or others, and it's very fun. Dungeons and Dragons is as a game is also a very like good way to express my creativity and my draconity. So yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not exactly the most creative being out there, but what I do like to do is write. Um, so generally speaking, as far as creativity goes, I'll journal my own experiences in overall life through a draconic perspective. For what it's worth, whenever I do write by hand, I write exclusively in chlorite these days, which is somewhat dragony. That's all I had to add.
That actually does sound cool to learn. My species in my past life did had a form of claw writing, and the ones that do exist on Earth are pretty similar. So I think it would be cool to actually learn how to claw write here.
It's not necessarily too difficult. If you can write in Roman letters, then you can definitely pick up chlorite quite easily.
Yeah, sounds doable.
I find it to be a bit cathartic. Personally, there is just that element to it which is quite enjoyable.
Yeah, so for me, I'm not sure if I can connect it to my draconity, but I'm playing electric guitar and played it in a band until the COVID pandemic starts. So it's already been 4 years now since I haven't played it though. But yeah, I'm doing that.
Yee, that's fair.
Fair. I would also like to add I'm also quite musically inclined. I did band for a few years as well as choir, and I'm still very much into musical theater and operas. So I love singing, I love music, and it's not overtly draconic, but it's just a very good way to feel like free and to express myself by singing.
All right. So since we only have time for one more question, I'm going to combine the last two into one. Hey. So
Nice.
can you share any insights or lessons you've learned from embracing both your human and draconic identities? And what advice would you offer to others?
I've learned a lot. A lot. So I'll only say what comes to mind to my being. Enjoy the little things in life. Never be too judgmental, and always be kind to others. That's what
Yeah.
I've learned, essentially.
Yeah, I can second that. Also think the most important thing is don't give up. And even if you fall down, you just have to stand up and yeah, until you may fall again, but then you stand up one more time. And I think this is maybe not something that is specifically applicable to draconity, but it's still something I've learned and experienced a lot through draconity because it was to some degree it was a failure forward, if you can say so, because it was, especially in the first years, it was a lot of back and forth for me, a lot of um, looking upon myself, looking upon the world, trying to get a grasp of things, and trying to analyze and dissect it into little pieces, just to put it back together in a with a sometimes totally different meaning some days, weeks, months later. So yeah. So this is probably something I would say to someone who is pretty new to the community and just awakened. I would say, don't give up and give yourself some time.
Yeah. Another thing that I've learned from being a human and being draconic, even if you experience a lot of suffering and pain in life, there's always something good to live for. I won't go into the details about how I learned that, though. Yes, in both human life and as my true draconian self, I have come to know that, and that is a major piece of advice that I give others.
Yes, I have had similar experiences, and remembering the things that make you happy, the things you do to make others happy, just like the things you love about life is very important. So just love yourself, love others, and if and just keep going. If you're in a bad situation, it's not the end, and you can keep going, and you will find yourself in a good place someday.
Yeah,
Definitely.
those are really good words. I don't really have a lot to add to that. I would say stay critical of the human brain because it's deceptively good at creating memories. So, keep thinking about it. Try to figure out what is true and what isn't, what might be wishful thinking, especially when it comes to past life or concurrent life memories. Be patient, look after yourself in both ways. Don't become unbalanced and only focus on one side of you. You are still both human and otherkin. And, indeed, love yourself and learn to love the world you are in. It's not all bad.
Do the other hosts want to comment?
Nothing that Akira didn't just touch on. So yeah.
Understandable. Well, since we're all out of questions, do we want to do the closing or?
Yeah, I guess so. unless somebody from the audience wants to talk.
Oh yeah, if an audience wants to come up and guest speak, that'd be perfectly fine. It looks like we have one. Yay.
Ember, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Making a surprise visit here, actually. So, yeah, actually, I don't know if the time is limited, but let me just shortly make a statement, hopefully, because it's a funny coincidence today that I managed to join this recording first time. But I also came out to somebody very close to me as otherkin today, and yeah, we talked about the very topic of the podcast. Which actually translates to how to live yourself in this world. So it's a question of self-realization. And for some reason, that is a question that is really, really close to my heart. I believe that probably every being with a kind of self-awareness wants to self-realize. So it's not a dragon-only thing. And that's maybe why, one of the reasons why I think it's very important. To answer the question, I believe that first one has to get to know themselves. That might be quite obvious, but I think that the main question is what personal characteristics are central to your inner true self. It's not so much, in my opinion, about, yeah, okay, I like to hoard things or hoard crystals, or I like to daydream of flying, but of course that is good to know. But I believe that it's also important to ask why. What is the driving force behind that? And you have to see that the driving force, it must be insanely strong. If you take a look at what happens to us, I mean, it takes something to identify as a non-human in a world where this is just not socially accepted, and still identify as such as you get of age and as others tell you, hey, that's not true, or yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, so sticking to that idea, that must have a really, really strong driving force behind it. And I believe that one should try and find that driving force. So for me, I believe part of the answer is an urge for freedom, an urge to create and explore, also curiosity, also guardianship, firstly towards nature. I also realized that I like to do things fast. That is, well, driving fast cars was mentioned, so I like that too, but actually I don't know what it means. And as soon as you know that, then you can answer the lead question, how can you live that in this world? And actually, that is a bit easier than to live that draconity, which is something that just needs to be defined. So I think it's a bit easier to live out the urge to create and explore. Of course, there were some great examples in this episode how this can be done, but I don't want to reiterate. Maybe another question that was not covered is, to which extent do you want to, let's say, dragonize your environment? To which extent do you want to make it somehow obvious or clear that you are a dragon? So far in my life, I think I've really tried to express myself in ways that are not obviously draconic, and that has led me to where I am. But I feel that if I do it in ways that are draconic, for some reason that gives me some kind of energy that is impossible to get otherwise, and that is also quite an interesting thing. So I think I should do that more. Yeah, but that is a very individual decision to take and to contemplate on, I think. Yeah, that were my thoughts for today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Those
Thank you
are,
for sharing.
yeah, those are really nice thoughts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thank you so much.
and you do make a good point actually at the last
Thanks.
section. So, yeah.
Closing time. Thank you all for joining in, listening in. We appreciate your attention. We appreciate you being in the audience. Our next episode focuses on closed-minded ideologies about dragons and overcoming gatekeeping and elitism. So that will be an interesting episode topic. Though again, thank you all for joining in, and we do hope to see you next time.
It was a great topic and some great suggestions from you all. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun discussing my experiences and listening to others, and I loved doing this episode.
Yee, definitely.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-byes.